The desperate call. The grand spire of Veldor Prime gleamed in the dying light of the twin suns, its crystalline surface reflecting a kaleidoscope of colors across the cityscape below. Inside the highest chamber, 12 figures stood in perfect formation around a circular table, their elongated limbs and silver-blue skin glistening with bioluminescent patterns that revealed their distress. "The calculations are irrefutable," said First Scholar Televax, her voice melodious despite the gravity of her words. "The stellar anomaly will destabilize our planet's core in precisely 87 rotations. There is no possibility of error." High Counselor Marin Zal's bioluminescent patterns flashed in rapid sequence, the Veldorian equivalent of a frustrated sigh. "We have exhausted all conventional solutions. Our evacuation capabilities are insufficient. Our planetary stabilizers cannot counteract a disruption of this magnitude." The Veldorians had ruled their corner of the galaxy for millennia, evolving from a water-dwelling species into beings of remarkable intelligence. They had mastered fusion energy, gravity manipulation, and faster-than-light communication. They had spread their elegant cities across 3 planets in their home system. They had composed symphonies that lasted centuries and built monuments that defied physical laws. But they had never prepared for this. "There is one option we have not considered," said Defense Minister Crandole, his patterns dimming to nearly invisible, indicating shame or hesitation. "We could request external assistance." The chamber fell silent. In over 4,000 years of recorded history, the Veldorians had never requested help from any other species. Their cultural doctrine of self-sufficiency was as fundamental as their 3-lobed brains. "Impossible," declared elder historian Vos Ren. "The doctrines of isolation are clear. Contact with lesser species is forbidden until they demonstrate both technological maturity and ethical advancement." "With respect, Elder," said First Engineer Silamox, "the doctrines will be irrelevant if our civilization ceases to exist." The debate raged for days. Meanwhile, the stellar anomaly, a quantum disruption in their sun's core, grew more unstable. Instruments recorded increasing gravitational fluctuations. The first tremors began shaking Veldor Prime's crust. On the 3rd day, High Counselor Marin Zal made an unprecedented decision. "We will send a distress signal," he announced, "to all corners of the galaxy. Any civilization capable of receiving and decoding our transmission may offer assistance. And if those who respond are primitive?" asked Elder Vos Ren, his patterns shifting to display disgust. "Then we will guide them," Marin Zal replied. "But we can no longer afford our isolation. Begin the transmission immediately." First Engineer Sela Mox programmed their quantum beacon array, technology normally used to communicate between Veldorian colonies, to broadcast on all frequencies. The message contained detailed information about their civilization, their crisis, and the specific technical requirements any rescue attempt would require. "The signal has been sent," she announced. "Now we wait." At the South Atlantic Listening Station on Earth, night shift analyst Marcus Chen was about to finish his 12-hour stint monitoring deep space transmissions. The facility, jointly operated by 17 nations, was one of dozens around the planet tasked with scanning the stars for any sign of extraterrestrial intelligence. In 15 years of operation, they had recorded exactly 0 confirmed alien transmissions. Marcus was halfway through his 3rd cup of coffee when his console erupted with alerts. He sputtered, spilling the hot liquid across his desk. "What the hell?" he muttered, quickly wiping his hands and focusing on the incoming data. The signal strength was unprecedented. A clear pattern transmission originating from a star system 23 light-years away. "This has to be equipment malfunction," he said to himself, running the standard diagnostic protocols. But every test confirmed the same result. This was no glitch. He hit the emergency alert button, summoning the station director from her quarters. Dr. Amara Okafor arrived 6 minutes later, hair disheveled but eyes sharp. "Show me," she commanded. Marcus displayed the signal pattern. "It started exactly 27 minutes ago. perfect clarity, repeating on a 90-second cycle. And he hesitated. It's structured like language. Dr. Okafor. Complex mathematical patterns followed by what appears to be encoded data. Dr. Okafor stared at the screen, her breath quickening. Inform the other stations. I want confirmation within the hour. Then alert the UN Secretary General's office. Use Protocol Alpha 9. Alpha 9. But that's First Contact Protocol. Yes, she smiled faintly. It seems humanity is no longer alone in the universe. Within 24 hours, 4 other listening stations had confirmed the signal. The most powerful supercomputers on Earth worked to decode the transmission, revealing startling details, specifications of an advanced civilization, technical data about a stellar phenomenon threatening their planet, and coordinates of their star system. They're asking for help. Dr. Alexandra Petrova, head of the United Nations Scientific Committee, explained to an emergency session of world leaders. This isn't just first contact, it's a distress call. Can we verify this isn't some elaborate hoax? Asked the Chinese premier. The signal originates 23 light-years away. Dr. Petrova replied. Unless someone has secretly developed technology to transmit from deep space without our knowledge, this is genuine. Even if it's real, the U.S. president said, do we have the capacity to help? What exactly are they asking for? Dr. Petrova displayed a holographic model of the Veldorian solar system. Their star is undergoing a quantum disruption that's destabilizing their planet's core. They need technology to neutralize these disruptions. According to their transmission, they have approximately 80 days before catastrophic failure. Do we possess such technology? Asked the Indian Prime Minister. Not currently, Dr. Petrova admitted, but our physicists believe it's theoretically possible to develop it based on the principles included in their transmission. The Brazilian president leaned forward. Let me understand this clearly. An advanced alien civilization is asking us, humans who haven't even colonized our own moon yet, to develop technology we don't possess and travel 23 light-years to save them within 80 days. That's correct, Dr. Petrova nodded. The room fell silent until the Russian president barked a laugh. Impossible, of course. But imagine if we could do it. That single sentence changed everything. World leaders who had been dismissing the idea as absurd suddenly began considering its implications. If humanity could respond to this call, if they could save an advanced civilization, it would demonstrate humanity's worth to the galaxy. We would need unprecedented cooperation, the German chancellor said thoughtfully. Every major space agency, every leading technology company, every top research institution working together. The public reaction will be chaotic, warned the Japanese Prime Minister. Religious implications alone. People will rally, interrupted the Kenyan president. Throughout history, humans have accomplished their greatest feats when facing impossible challenges. This is our moment to prove ourselves, not just to these aliens, but to ourselves. The debate continued for hours, but momentum was building. National rivalries that had defined Earth politics for centuries began to seem petty in the face of an interstellar rescue mission. Finally, the UN Secretary General called for a vote. The result was not unanimous. Several nations abstained, but the majority was clear. Humanity would attempt the impossible. Operation Stellar Rescue was born. Within days, the world transformed. Space agencies that had competed for decades now shared their most classified technologies. Defense contractors repurposed military research for the mission. Universities opened their laboratories 24/7, with scientists working in rotating shifts. The public reaction exceeded all expectations. When the existence of the alien signal was confirmed, there were no mass panics, no religious upheavals. Instead, a wave of purpose swept across humanity. People volunteered their skills, their resources, their time. Children sent drawings of the aliens they imagined to space agencies. Religious leaders of all faiths called for unity in the face of this cosmic challenge. In Houston, JPL engineer Sanjay Patel led a team developing a prototype quantum stabilizer based on the Veldorian specifications. In Beijing, physicist Dr. Lin Wei made a breakthrough in gravitational field manipulation. In Moscow, the Russian Space Agency modified their newest interstellar probe designs for faster-than-light travel, something they'd been secretly working on for decades. At the United Nations, a new department was formed, the Interstellar Response Division, tasked with coordinating this unprecedented global effort. Dr. Amara Okafor, who had first confirmed the alien signal, was appointed as its director. "We have never faced a greater challenge," she told the assembled scientists, engineers, and diplomats at the division's inaugural meeting. "But we have never had a greater opportunity. In responding to this call, we will show the universe what humanity is truly capable of." As the days passed, prototype ships took shape in orbital construction facilities. Crews were selected from the best pilots, engineers, and scientists worldwide. The mission plan evolved from theoretical to practical. But time was running out. Each day brought the Veldorians closer to catastrophe. And despite humanity's determined response, one question remained unanswered. Even with their best efforts, could they reach the aliens in time? On Veldor Prime, first engineer Sela Mox monitored the quantum beacon, searching for any response to their desperate plea. After 30 rotations of silence, she had begun to lose hope. Then, on the 31st rotation, the beacon detected an incoming transmission. "High Counselor," she called, her patterns flashing with excitement. "We're receiving a response." The message was crude by Veldorian standards, transmitted on relatively primitive communication technology. But its meaning was clear. Help was coming. "Who responds?" asked High Counselor Marin Zal, his patterns showing cautious optimism. Sela Mox analyzed the transmission origin. "A species from a planet they call Earth. According to our records, they have barely achieved space travel within their own system. They have not yet developed faster-than-light travel or unified planetary governance." Elder Vosren's patterns flashed with alarm. "Primitives. They cannot possibly help us." But Marin Zal studied the human message more carefully. "Perhaps not, but they are trying. And at this point, what choice do we have but to hope?" As the Veldorians debated the wisdom of accepting help from such a young species, humanity's rescue fleet prepared for launch, their mission to achieve the impossible already underway. Operation Cosmic Rescue. The United Nations Interstellar Response Vessel Endeavour hung in Earth orbit, its mismatched hull sections gleaming in the sunlight. Unlike traditional spacecraft with their elegant unified designs, the Endeavour resembled a hastily assembled college. Modules from different space agencies, experimental propulsion systems, and improvised living quarters all connected in ways their original engineers never intended. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the observation deck, watching as the final supply shuttles docked with her ship. 20 years in the European Space Agency hadn't prepared her for commanding humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. No one could be prepared for this. "Final crew manifest, Captain," said Commander Kwame Nkrumah, her executive officer, handing her a tablet. 67 personnel representing 23 nations. The last team just boarded. The quantum stabilizer engineers from India and South Korea. Maya scanned the list, noting the diverse specialties: astrophysicists, xenolinguists, medical personnel with crash courses in theoretical alien biology, and engineers who had developed technologies that didn't exist 2 months ago. "How's our timeline?" she asked. "We launch in 6 hours. The rest of the fleet will follow within 12. Kwame gestured to the 5 other vessels, visible at various distances. "Assuming the experimental FTL drive works as designed, we'll reach the Veldorian system in 16 days. And if it doesn't work as designed," Kwame's expression remained neutral, "then the Veldorians will be long gone before we arrive." Maya nodded grimly. The Alcubierre-Chen drive, named after the theoretical physicist who first proposed the concept and the Chinese engineer who had finally made it viable, had never been tested beyond Earth's solar system. The simulations looked promising, but reality had a way of being less cooperative than computer models. "Captain," came a voice over the comms. "Dr. Nakamura requests your presence in the quantum lab. Says he's found something important in the Veldorian technical data." "On my way," Maya replied, handing the tablet back to Quame. "Finish the pre-launch checks. I want us ready to go the minute mission control gives the green light." The quantum laboratory occupied what had once been a Russian military module, repurposed with equipment from 6 different countries. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a Japanese theoretical physicist with 3 Nobel nominations, hunched over a holographic display, his fingers manipulating complex equations that seemed to dance in the air. "You wanted to see me, Doctor?" Maya asked. Nakamura looked up, his expression caught between excitement and concern. "Captain, I've been analyzing the Veldorian stabilizer specifications. The technology is remarkable, far beyond our current understanding of quantum mechanics. That's why we built it to their exact specifications," Maya said. "We don't need to understand it completely to make it work." "That's just it." Nakamura pointed to a section of the schematics. "What they're asking for is impossible with our current technology. We've built something that approximates their design, but it's like giving medieval blacksmith's plans for a microchip. They might create something that looks similar, but it won't function as intended." Maya's heart sank. "Are you saying our mission is doomed before it begins?" "Not necessarily." Nakamura's eyes gleamed. "I think the Veldorians underestimated us. They sent specifications for technology they thought would be comprehensible to us, but in doing so, they simplified too much. What we've built is cruder than their design, but it might actually be more effective for this specific application." "How can a cruder design be more effective?" "Because we didn't know it was impossible." Nakamura grinned. "We approached the problem differently. Their solution is elegant, precise, developed over centuries of quantum theory. Ours is, well, the technical term is brute force approach. Less elegant, but potentially more powerful in the short term." Maya studied the physicist's face. "You're saying we might actually pull this off?" "I'm saying we have a chance. Sometimes ignorance and desperation lead to innovation that knowledge and comfort never would." 6 hours later, Maya stood on the bridge as the final launch countdown commenced. On screens around her, billions of humans watched from every corner of Earth. The mission had captured global imagination in a way nothing had for generations. "Engage primary drive," she ordered. The Endeavor's conventional engines fired, pushing the massive vessel away from Earth orbit. Once they cleared the safe distance, the real test would begin, activating the experimental FTL drive that would hopefully carry them across 23 light-years in a matter of days rather than centuries. "All systems nominal," reported the flight engineer, a Chinese woman named Dr. Lin. "Preparing for HFY drive activation in 30 seconds. Maya opened a ship-wide channel. "All personnel, secure for FTL transition. We don't know exactly what this will feel like, so brace yourselves." The bridge fell silent as the countdown reached 0. Dr. Lin pressed her palm against the activation panel. "HFY drive engaging. Now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the stars outside the viewport stretched like taffy, elongating into streaks of light. A deep vibration hummed through the ship's structure. Several bridge officers grabbed their consoles for support as a wave of disorientation swept through them. And then, suddenly, Earth was gone. The familiar stars of humanity's home sky vanished, replaced by an alien starfield. "Status report," Maya called out once the initial disorientation passed. "Drive functioning within parameters," Dr. Lin reported, her voice tinged with awe. We're doing it, Captain. We're traveling faster than light." Cheers erupted across the bridge, echoed throughout the ship as other crew members realized they had made history. Humanity's first faster-than-light journey was underway. The celebration was short-lived, however. There was too much work to be done. While the ship hurtled toward the Veldorian system, The crew trained relentlessly. Xenobiologists developed theories about Veldorian physiology based on the limited data provided. Engineers ran countless simulations of the stabilizer deployment. Communication specialists practiced with the translation algorithms developed from the alien language samples. 16 days later, the Endeavour and its sister ships dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Veldorian system. The view screen showed a beautiful yellow star orbited by 7 planets, but the beauty was marred by visible distortions in space, rippling waves of distorted starlight that betrayed the quantum disruptions threatening the system. "Look at that," whispered Dr. Nakamura, who had joined Maya on the bridge for their arrival. "The stellar core is undergoing quantum flux cascades. It's worse than the Veldorians described." "How much time do they have?" Maya asked. Nakamura studied the sensor readings. "Days, not weeks. We arrived just in time." "Or too late," added Dr. Chen, the propulsion specialist. "Those distortions will make navigation extremely difficult. Getting close enough to deploy the stabilizers will be dangerous." Maya straightened her shoulders. "Send the approach signal as planned. Let's hope the Veldorians are still alive to receive it." On Veldor Prime, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. Quantum tremors shook the crystal cities, shattering ancient structures and disrupting the planet's defense systems. The atmospheric shield, their last protection against the stellar radiation, flickered dangerously as power fluctuations rippled across the grid. In the Central Command Spire, High Counselor Marin Zal and his advisors monitored the crisis. Their bioluminescent patterns had dimmed to conserve energy, both physical and emotional, as hope dwindled. "The quantum disruptions have increased by 37%, reported First Scholar Televax. Shield integrity at 43% and falling. We have perhaps 5 rotations remaining before complete failure." "The evacuation ships?" Marin Zal asked, though he already knew the answer. "The last vessels departed carrying children and genetic repositories," Defense Minister Krendall said, "but they cannot escape the system before the final cascade. We merely gave them a few more rotations of life." A junior communications officer suddenly straightened, her patterns flashing bright with shock. "High Counselor, we're receiving an approach signal." "From the humans." "Impossible," Elder Vos Ren scoffed. "They could not have developed interstellar travel capabilities so quickly." But the evidence was undeniable. The human signal was clear, transmitted from just beyond their system's outer boundary. "They claim to have a fleet of 6 vessels," the communications officer continued, her patterns now pulsing with excitement. "They request approach vectors, and they say they've developed stabilizer technology based on our specifications." The command center fell silent. Even Elder Vos Ren's dismissive patterns faded as the implications sank in. "Response protocol?" asked First Engineer Silamox, who had been coordinating their dwindling defensive measures. High Counselor Marin Zal's patterns shifted to a formal configuration, one used for historic pronouncements. "Send them all necessary navigation data. Prepare for first contact protocols. And inform the population. Tell them help has arrived." As the message was transmitted, murmurs spread through the command center. A species they had never met, one they had assumed was relatively primitive, had somehow crossed interstellar space in an impossible time frame, bringing technology they shouldn't have been able to develop. "How did they do this?" wondered Televax aloud. "According to our records, they have barely established bases on their own moon." Marin Zal's patterns displayed a complex emotion that translated roughly as wondering admiration. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we have underestimated these humans." Aboard the Endeavour, Captain Rodriguez studied the Veldorian response. The alien data streams have been translated by their computers, showing detailed navigation instructions and current planetary conditions. "The quantum disruptions are worse than we anticipated," she told her senior staff gathered in the briefing room. "Their planetary shields are failing. We need to deploy our stabilizers immediately." "The closest approach point is still dangerous," warned the navigation officer. These spatial distortions could tear the ships apart if we miscalculate. Dr. Nakamura cleared his throat. I have a suggestion. Instead of deploying all stabilizers simultaneously as planned, we should stagger them. Create a cascade effect that gradually neutralizes the disruptions, starting from the outer layers and working inward. That wasn't the original plan, objected one of the engineers. We haven't tested that approach. We haven't tested any of this, Nakamura replied. But physics is physics. A gradual approach will allow us to adjust if something goes wrong. It gives us room to improvise. Maya considered this. The original plan had been developed based on theoretical models. But now, faced with the reality of the situation, adaptation seemed necessary. We'll do it, she decided. Split the fleet. The Endeavour will approach closest to the star. The other ships will position themselves at calculated intervals to create the cascade effect. As the meeting dispersed, Maya received another message from the Veldorians. This one contained visual data, the first images of the aliens themselves. The Veldorians were tall, slender beings with silver-blue skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light patterns. They had 4 arms, elongated necks, and large, compound eyes. Despite their alien appearance, there was something recognizably intelligent and emotional in their posture and the patterns of light that flowed across their skin. They're beautiful, whispered Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, the chief cynobiologist, who had joined Maya to view the transmission. And they're expecting us to save them, Maya replied. Let's not disappoint them. The human fleet approached the Veldorian system cautiously, navigating through increasingly severe spatial distortions. Emergency repairs became routine as the quantum fluctuations stressed hull materials never designed for such conditions. As they neared Veldor Prime, the communication system activated. A Veldorian face appeared on the main view screen. High Counselor Marin Zal, though the humans didn't yet know his title. Greetings, Earth Vessel. The translation came through clearly, the alien's melodious voice rendered in slightly stilted English. Your arrival is unexpected. We had calculated the probability of successful intervention at less than 1%. Maya stepped forward. High Counselor, I am Captain Maya Rodriguez of the United Nations vessel Endeavour. We received your distress signal and have come to help. The alien's skin rippled with light patterns that the translation algorithm interpreted as profound surprise. You have achieved faster-than-light travel, Marin Zal stated. This was not in our records of your capabilities. Maya allowed herself a small smile. We developed it after receiving your message. Necessity is a powerful motivator for human innovation. The Veldorians' patterns shifted again. You created faster-than-light technology in less than 40 rotations. Impossible. With respect, Counselor, Maya replied, we humans have a saying. Impossible is just a word to let people feel good about themselves when they quit. We don't quit easily. As the Endeavour moved into position near Veldor Prime, the crew got their first real view of the alien world. It was breathtaking, a planet of crystalline cities and silver oceans, now marred by fractures from the quantum tremors. In orbit around the planet, massive shield generators struggled to maintain a protective field against the star's increasingly erratic emissions. Beautiful, murmured Quame, standing beside Maya. And terrifying to think it could all be destroyed. Deploy stabilizer teams, Maya ordered. It's time to see if our impossible solution works. As the human fleet moved into formation around the Veldorian star, the aliens watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Would these unexpected saviors from Earth actually succeed where Veldorian science had failed? The answer would soon reveal itself in either salvation or catastrophe.